Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Bad for Your Health Entertainment. I am Tom, and tonight I am joined by the lovely Miss Linda Miller, best known for her role as Lieutenant Susan Watson in King Kong Escapes. Linda, how are you tonight? And first off, thank you for joining us tonight.
Well, thank you for asking me, and I'm doing really well, and I'm glad that you're doing really well now.
Thank you. Yes, not a lot of people knew that, but I was battling a
Uh,
bad case of laryngitis last week,
mm.
and it was bad for a couple of days. But it's all good here at Bad for Your Health Entertainment tonight.
I love the title of your podcast,
You know, I
Bad for Your
appreciate
Health.
I appreciate that a lot. You know, that came to me one night when I was having dinner, if you must know the truth. I was just sitting there. It was cliched, and I was just like, God, what's something I could call this? And like, honestly, I think it was like a cigarette thing that popped by, and Surgeon General says this is bad for your health, and I kind of just
Right.
went, there it is.
That's the name. That's the name.
That's the
Yeah.
name, and I like the number four, and the rest is history. Three
Mhm.
years later, here we are, rocking and rolling.
Awesome.
Linda, like I said, you are best known for your role as Lieutenant Susan Watson in King Kong Escapes. First off, tell me how you got involved in acting. Now, first off, we know King Kong Escapes is a Japanese American film, but how did you end
Right.
up acting? How did that come to your doorstep?
I was living in Japan because my dad was in the Air Force, so we were stationed in Tokyo, and I started out modeling it just by chance. And the way I got the job for King Kong Escapes is Arthur Rankin saw my face on the cover of a young girls magazine, and at the time I had a contract with a magazine called Josei 7, which is like a 17 magazine here in the States. It's for like teenage girls. And
Mhm.
so every week I would do the cover, and just one week he saw the cover, did a little investigation, found out that I lived in Japan at the time. So I'm sure he's thinking, ka-ching, ka-ching, I can save a lot of money. And, she's already in Japan. I don't have to fly her over. I don't have to house her. I don't have to feed her. And so he called me on the phone and out of the blue and said, I'd like to talk to you about doing a movie. And it blew me away. Just, it was, it, I didn't even know how to react. So, and then so from there, we met a couple of times. I told him he was crazy for even wanting to hire somebody who had no experience in the business, because modeling and acting are like so different, so
Two different
different.
animals, two different
Yeah.
things.
Hmm. Yeah.
Take me to the modeling for a second.
Okay.
As in Japan, how do I word this without? It's much different than it is here in the United States.
Well, and this was back in the mid '60s, so I'm sure it's even more different. Um,
I would attest to that. I would agree with that.
yeah. Well, we all know how old I am, so I guess I can't hide that. But
No, I was talking about how times have changed
yes,
as
yes,
it has since
yes.
the swinging '60s.
Yeah. Well, this was before. See, I went to Japan in '65. I graduated a year early, so we went to Japan in '65, and I missed my high school graduation, which really upset me. But the day that we landed, my dad said to me, "Do you remember?" I can't remember the girl's name that you used to live next door to in France when you were in second grade. And I said, yeah. He said, well, they're here too, and she's having a graduation party tonight, so I think you should go. So I went to the graduation party, and there was a girl there. I mean, I'm short. I'm only 5 feet and a half inch if I stand up straight. And there was a girl there that was shorter than I am. And she was talking about how she was modeling and making money to buy clothes and just, all the things that a young girl would want to buy. And I looked at her and I said, well, how'd you get started? And so she told me that she went to this charm school. And I said, okay, what's the number? How do I get in touch with him? Because I thought, if she can do it, oh, hell, I can do it too. And so I went to the modeling school and learned how to put on makeup and took the course that you had to pay for. But before I finished the course, some client came in, saw me, and booked me. I think my very first job was for an accordion magazine. accordion instrument magazine, and they had me in a bikini. I don't know how the two things, made any sense, but that was my very first job. And then I never stopped working after that. I never finished the course. I just started working. And I think the reason I was successful is because I looked different, but not too different. I wasn't blonde hair and blue eyed and like would stand out in a crowd. I had dark eyes. I had, light brown hair. I wasn't tall. So I think I was just different enough to look American, but not so different that it was kind of freakish,
I
because
understand. You didn't look too alien for them. You look
yeah, that's a good word. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
look like the best of both worlds, essentially.
Yes. At that time, yes. And so I just started working all the time. And at first, they sent an interpreter with me. And then after a while, I didn't need one because I picked up Japanese pretty quickly. I wasn't fluent, but I could navigate, every shot, every shoot that we had, I could navigate with no problem. So that's kind of how I got into it. It's just like right place at the right time with the right look. And it's almost as if God had his hand on me and said, okay, little girl, you're going in this direction. And it was like a fairy tale, I have to tell you.
But was it fast paced? Was it like one of those whirlwinds where you were just sort of like, "Whoa, here we are," and the big sets and roads, reasons, just all this is
Well,
just incredible.
the excuse me, the modeling, I worked almost every day and I had to be careful that I took some time off to rest. But I worked almost every day, but it didn't feel fast paced to me because I was 18 years old, 17, 18. So I had more energy then than I do now. Uh, but it was kind of like a steady, constant thing. And I loved it. I enjoyed it. I had almost no American friends because I was working all the time. So all my friends were Japanese. So it kind of just flowed. I didn't feel overwhelmed. And then I did I guess I have to back up. My very first job was a program called English for Millions that was like an English class on TV, and they
Yeah.
piped it into the junior high school classes, and they watched it. And so that was my very first job, and it just kind of snowballed from there. But it was easy, I didn't feel overwhelmed at all until I
And
started acting. Then I felt
that was my next
overwhelmed.
question. You got
Yeah.
overwhelmed. So King Kong Escapes came to you, the producer saw your picture and said, "Boom, you are what I want
Yeah.
for Lieutenant
Yeah.
Susan Watson."
Yes. That's what he said. And I said, Arthur, I think you're making a mistake, because I was concerned that I was more concerned about ruining his movie and being embarrassed than I was excited. I'm going to do a movie. But he said, no, no, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. And so I said, okay, just don't hold it against me if I ruin everything for you. So, that's kind of how it started. And then once I said yes, and my mom would have been a great agent, because my contract was with Toho Studios and not Universal. So I'd get no residuals or anything from the film. Rhodes did, but I didn't, because I didn't have a union contract. But my mom, they offered me a certain amount of money, and my mom said, no, uh, you're going to pay her this amount of money. I mean, it wasn't a huge amount, but the nerve of her
But
to
an
tell them.
amount. But an
But it's
amount.
an amount larger than they wanted to pay. So I thought, my mom is going to ruin this for me. She's going to ruin my chance to make a movie. But she got her way. They paid me what she thought I should be paid, and then we moved on from there.
Were you aware of the cultural icon King Kong before taking this role?
Just from being a kid and watching it on TV, Fay Ray. So when he said King Kong, I knew the story because I'd seen the movies, but I didn't know any of the other films that had ever been done about, I didn't know Toho's connection with King Kong. I didn't even know who Godzilla was when I did the movie. Um, Yeah, I'm sorry to say, but
Don't be.
I had
I
I
admit
had
freely,
no idea.
I am not the world's biggest Godzilla fan, truth be told. Like I prefer King Kong more to Godzilla. I still haven't
Oh,
even
Lord
watched the
love you.
plot. Yeah, no, I'm serious. My first exposure to King Kong came with the oh god, it had to have been AMC back in the '90s. You know, back in the day, they showed the Jeff Bridges, Jessica Lange movie, and
Oh
I
yeah,
enjoyed
yeah,
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. I liked it,
me
and then
too.
got a little older, and then saw the original,
Yeah,
and then the Peter Jackson, you know,
yeah,
mega hit came
yeah,
out. And of course, I
yeah.
saw that. I didn't see Son of Kong until the original 1933 sequel until God, maybe until I was around 30.
See, I've never seen Son of Kong. I've seen the one with Jessica Lange. I've seen the Peter Jackson one.
Yeah,
Isn't there? Okay. And then I've seen Godzilla, and then Godzilla versus King Kong. And so I haven't seen a lot of them, to be honest with you.
yeah, and there's
You know?
so many Godzilla movies. I know I've seen a few here over the years. I've seen the original iconic one.
Yeah.
I saw the abysmal 1998 adaptation, which I still think is one of the worst movies. I just never liked it. That's just my take.
Yeah.
And the 2014. I know I've seen some of the other ones like Godzilla versus Mothra and Biollante, things like that.
Yeah.
But I always preferred Kong over Godzilla.
Well,
And
thank you.
there was a great King Kong video game that came out back in 2005 with the movie that
Oh,
Peter Jackson did. So I definitely
um,
I have a soft spot for Kong too.
I do too.
Yeah.
Imagine
He had
that.
a soft spot
Yeah.
for you too. And I love that when people
Yes.
say, you know, Rhodes was the lead or so and so is the lead in the movie. No, King Kong's the lead
Kong
in that
was
movie.
King Kong's the lead. Yeah. He was the star of the whole show. Yeah.
And it's a fun movie. You know, I watched it when I was
Yeah.
a boy. Somewhere along the line, I watched it AMC or one of the regional networks back in the '90s. Compared to today, yeah, it may look cheesy or however you want to word it,
Yeah.
but it's
Yeah.
a fun movie. It's fun. It's
Yeah.
got class. It's got style.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
long was
If
the
you
production
don't,
for?
um, about 2, 3 months, somewhere in that neighborhood. I think we started in May and we're done sometime around July
Nice.
of
That's a pretty
67.
good shoot. That's a pretty good shoot. You were going
Yeah.
to say something. I cut you off. I apologize.
I don't remember what it
Oh,
was.
now,
Oh,
you
what
know,
I remember. What I was going to say, if you go into watching the movie without these high expectations, you just say, I'm going to just sit back and just enjoy the movie, then it's enjoyable. You know,
that's the
if
thing
you,
with a lot of the older movies. I find, like,
yeah,
so many people today are so snobbish of the older films, and this I don't want to get on a high horse because if you look at the archives of the Bad for Your Health Entertainment, there's a lot of older movies in here because they're made with a lot of passion. They're fun,
yeah,
classy. They got
yeah,
great casts. They just seem more fun. Today, everything is serious and has to have this meaning or an
mhm,
allegory for this, and that's fine. I appreciate that a lot, but it's just entertainment. Let's sit down and have a
yeah,
little fun,
yeah.
and let's watch
Well,
a giant ape fight a robot. Let's be frank.
or a man in a giant ape suit. You know what I'm
Ex-
saying? Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
Exactly. That's the one thing I loved about these movies in particular, and King Kong Escapes is how, when you're younger, I would ask myself, I'm sure someone else did this. How did they do that? And then
yeah,
you get older, you see little production stills released and things like that.
yeah.
A lot of great camera trickery.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That was one of my questions. How am I going to get into King Kong's hand? I just couldn't figure it out. And then back then it was a blue screen. Yeah, I think it was a blue screen back then. And so everything I did with Kong was with a complete blank screen behind me, and I went, oh, that's how they're going to do it. But how are they going to turn that blue part into, it was fascinating what they did. Even back then, before they had CGI and all that, they did some really awesome things,
Oh man, CGI, made everything look. I can appreciate good CGI, but like,
Right.
like take King Kong or Spider-Man or anything like that. It's kind of today it looks almost cartoony seeing them, battle or swaying or whatnot. Back then, it just seemed more real because they had to cut the film and splice it and all that. Was that a robotic hand that would pick you up, or would?
Yes.
So they had a big hand that you would climb into.
Yeah. And it was hard and uncomfortable, let me tell you. It was a great big hand, and they would lower it down so I could get into the hand, and then they would raise it up somewhat so that whatever camera angle they needed to shoot down or shoot up, whatever. But yeah, it was a big metal hand with fake hair on it, fake ape hair on it.
Was it a fun set to be on for your first movie? Would you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Considering how uptight I was, especially in the beginning, Honda-san, the director, was gentle. He didn't yell. He didn't scream. He didn't say, "Oh, that was horrible, Linda-san." He just was very kind because he knew I didn't know what I was doing, and I tried so hard to do my very best. And you would know with him if he was not pleased with what you did, but he did not embarrass you or berate you. He would just say, "Okay, let's do it from a different angle," or something. He just was a really sweet man, very accomplished, but sweet.
Were there many scenes you had to do several times, or a couple of times here and there?
Not hardly. There's scenes that we repeated, but not like 20 and 30 times that you hear about. Maybe 3 or 4, something like that, but not often. Because at least with me, what I did is what you get. And it wasn't like if you shoot it again, it's going to be different, But with Rhodes and Takarada-san, because they were professionals, I'm trying to think. I just don't recall a lot of takes with him at all. Yeah.
And for your first movie, I do think you did a very fine job.
Oh God, thank you. Thank you.
Because there's one scene in particular where you have nice subtle eye movement, but that's just me kind of maybe reading into too much or something. There's one scene, and I think it's in the submarine. One of the earlier scenes.
Yeah, I was looking out. Yeah.
Yeah, you kind of just did a subtle.
That was kind of like midway through shooting where I was just a little bit more relaxed, and Rhodes had coached me a little bit more, and I was a little bit more daring to do something on my own, and not be saying, "Okay, put your hand here, look over there." You know what I'm saying? More organic. But so that was about the middle scene. There's in the very first scene that we shot was the submarine scene where I'm walking in and I talk about the castor oil. I'm saluting the guys and talking about the castor. That was so hard. That one we shot. It seemed like 1,000 times, but that one we probably shot 4 or 5 times. And I'm sure each take looked identical, but it was funny because it seemed I felt so rigid. I felt so unnatural. And when I saw it in the movie, I went, "Oh, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was," But that was the very first scene. And I was so
just
uptight.
So the butterflies, and you were uptight.
The butterflies, and I'm going, I just didn't know what I was doing. I had no point of reference. It was like, okay, do I do it like this? So it was, in fact, for the first week or 2, I told my mother, because my mother was on set with me all the time. And I told my mom, I think they're going to fire me. I said, I really think I'm going to get fired from this film. And I was pleasantly surprised as time went on that they kept me there and they didn't fire me,
I'm glad they didn't fire. We have a comment, Jen Bronzo. She says, "Hi."
Hi, how are you?
Hi, Jen. How are you, Jen? Jen's a good friend of mine.
Oh, cool.
She so the movie, I won't go into like questions about production, all that. Story is what it
Okay.
is. The acting, I think, for that type of movie is fantastic. Rhodes, was he a cool guy? Was Rhodes, he seemed like a pretty chill guy.
Rhodes was like an old time actor, old school. He was kind of dramatic. His personality was a little over dramatic. His famous, we became friends, his family and my family. His
Yeah.
famous line when he's getting ready to leave, you know how most people will, oh, it's good to see you soon. His famous line was, "It's always a pleasure to say goodbye to you." And then he would kind of do his exit. He was just, but
Like
he
exit
was
left,
fun.
just
Yeah, exactly. So he was a big ham, uh, but he was a friend of the family. I mean, there was at the end, years and years later, he said some things about me that I found offensive,
I'm sorry,
unflattering.
I'm not aware of that.
Okay,
I
then we won't bring it up. Yeah.
nope,
He
I'm
commented
sorry.
on my acting, which he was accurate, but he didn't need to do that. So
I apologize. I was not aware that he said that. So
good.
moving on with the world.
Awesome. I
Um,
agree.
yeah. Wow, one of the few times I've ever been thrown for a loop. I apologize.
Oh no, that's okay. I'm so glad you didn't read what I read. So that makes me happy.
No, and if I didn't
Cool.
read it, there's a lot of other people out there that probably didn't
Yes.
read it. Not
Good.
saying I read
Good.
the dirt sheets or anything like that, but
Yeah. Yeah.
criticism is handy, but constructive criticism is the best.
Right.
Flat out being mean is just uncalled for.
Yeah. Well, the last time we saw him, he just did a surprise visit. It was like 80, maybe 84, 85. And he had just finished doing the role of Daddy Warbucks on the Broadway production
Yeah,
of Annie. And so we had never seen him without his toupee. So here he walks through I go to the door, I open it, and it takes me a second to go, oh, Rhodes, because he was completely bald and I had never seen him bald before. So that was the last time that we saw him. In
we have a question.
fact,
Oh,
okay,
go on your story. What,
okay, just real quick.
please?
He died on my birthday. So
Uh,
every birthday I think of him. Yeah,
he
that's
died,
okay.
not 10 years ago, if I recall.
Something like that. He died no, more than that. He died. Okay, I got the call in 2015. He died before 2015 sometime.
Makes sense.
But
Yeah,
maybe it
yeah.
was 10 years now that you mention it. Yeah.
Could have been around 10 years. Here is the question from Jen Bronzo. She goes, Linda, what advice would you give someone who is interested in acting?
Do you know I'm getting that question when I go to conventions? And that's an excellent question. Well, first of all, you have to know it's a multi-layered answer. You have to know who you are because you're going to be influenced by people that will tear you apart, even with a smile. But you have to have a strong sense, your core you have to really have your feet on the ground. Your head's got to be on straight or it'll mess you up so bad. On top of that, if acting is not a passion with you, I wouldn't bother doing it professionally because it's like around every corner there's a no, and if you're very sensitive, it can really mess you up, because you feel, oh my God, they don't like me, I'm not likable. I could go on and on, but anyway, if it's a real passion for you, then go for it. But if it's not something that you've got to do, if it's not like a calling, I wouldn't bother going professional unless you're okay with maybe getting a job once in a while. Another thing is be financially savvy. Don't let other people handle your money. Don't trust. You know what Reagan used to say, trust but verify,
Yeah.
you know, you and only you are responsible for you. So take some classes, learn how to manage money, learn how to invest, and because you're not, unless you're a megastar, and very few megastars, unless
Sure.
you're like a Tom Cruise or a Meryl Streep or somebody like that, you're not going to work all the time. So you've got to plan, financially how to take care of yourself. But I've said many times, don't get into acting, but that's not really true, because I loved acting once I loosened up. I loved acting, but the business of acting is another aspect to your career. So
There's a seedy side to it. There's a dark
oh
side.
my
And that's
God, yes. And that's why I got out, because I was 20 at the time. I was a very young 20. I'm an only child, so my parents kept a real close watch on me. And not that I was an angel, because I wasn't, but I hadn't been, and living in Japan, I didn't experience what Hollywood's like. So when I came back, and at one point, I had a decision to make to go this way or that way. I went, oh my God, if I don't get out of this business, I'm going to lose my soul. And that's why I left, because I felt I was not strong enough. I was not wise enough. I was not worldly enough to be able to say no and stand behind it.
you were young.
I was young. I was
You were
young. I
young.
was naive, inexperienced. And I don't know if I should tell the story. Anyway, there was a girl. I won't go into it, but yes, there was some opportunities I had to completely ruin my life.
And you didn't do it.
No, I didn't do it. I didn't know, it's like people talk about that thing inside of you that speaks to you.
You're conscious.
Your conscious, your spirit, the Holy Spirit, whatever.
Whatever it is.
Yeah. And it spoke to me, and I just knew if I continued, I didn't have what it took to keep Linda being Linda. So I got out of it. It was hard because I liked acting, and I felt like I was on the cusp of making some kind of breakthroughs, not like a huge star or anything, but a working actress,
you would have
because
been steady, like and this is the early 70s we're talking about.
Early 70s. So I got a job on My Three Sons. I was the guest star one week, and he was very nice producer, Edmund Hartman. He encouraged me. He says, I don't know if you'll be a star, but he says, you will be a working actress. And I never wanted to be a superstar, because I like keeping my life, my own life, and I didn't want to see my name plastered all over, but I wanted to work because I liked working. And so I felt like I was maybe on the verge, but there were some encounters I had that made me very uncomfortable. So I did what I had to do.
And you did the right thing.
I'm not sorry.
You did the right thing. You followed your core. Yeah. You followed what your instincts told you to do.
And that's not to say that other people will lose their soul if they stay in the business. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that's why I'm saying it's really important that you know who you are.
Yes. And Jen says, thank you for your advice.
You're welcome. I hope it's helpful.
Jen has acted with me in a fan film, and I know she wants to continue doing it. Perhaps
and she should.
And she should. She was a hell of a lead in our movie. I don't think I could be the in the front of the camera. I think I'm more behind the scenes, story, ideas, that type of thing. I don't know.
I can relate to that. Yeah, I can relate to that. Because now that I'm older, I just do it for my church. I make videos for my church, and ideas will pop into your head, and you think, oh, that would be a great video. And then you go to do the video, and you just go, that's not what I thought it was going to be.
It's never what you envision.
No. I'm doing one now, and I'm going, I don't even know if I should even continue with this video. But, I tell myself, all right, God took a piece of clay and made a human, so nothing's impossible, you know.
Nothing is
So
impossible in this world.
yeah, yeah.
I hate to ask this. It's not
Okay.
messed up. Don't worry, it's not messed up.
All right, I'm sitting down.
I know your take on it, but for the viewers of Bad for Your Health Entertainment,
Okay.
how annoyed are you at the dubbing in King Kong Escapes? It's bad. I knew it was
Atrocious.
dubbing. I knew it was dubbed when I was a
Thank
kid, just
God.
because
Yeah.
I remember being a little kid being like, I don't think it's that girl's voice.
Mm-mm.
Mm-mm.
It is beyond annoyed. I was embarrassed, and no one, when I came back to the States and got out of acting, none of my friends ever knew that I was in King Kong Escapes because I was too embarrassed to tell them about it. In fact, I have friends now that when they found out about it, they were, what the hell? You know, I didn't know that about you. I said, yeah, that was a previous life, you know, but I was embarrassed and I wouldn't tell anybody. And if Arthur were still alive, I'd get in touch with him and I probably would slap him and said, what were you thinking? You know,
Just
bam, right. You know, remember when Cher in the movie Moonstruck slapped Nicolas Cage across the face and said,
snap out of it.
Yeah, I'd say I'd do the same thing to Arthur, because even if my voice was awful, it was not as awful as that voice. She
No,
made me
that
sound
voice.
like a cartoon, you know.
She did.
Instead of a human.
She made you sound like that sort of just that whiny, like, put me down, put me down. I was
Oh
like,
God, yes, yeah. Oh, I hated it. You
yeah.
know, I hated it then. I hate it now. I'll probably hate it till I go to my grave.
Have you ever met the woman who dubbed your voice though, or?
No, and she just passed away, I think a year or two ago. But no, and she was a very famous voiceover actress. I think Julie Bennett or something was her name.
Yeah.
And she was very famous, and she had to have been told, do it this way.
Go high pitch, go annoying.
Yeah, because she was a pro, and I can't imagine she came up with that voice, you know, out of her creativity, you know.
Yeah. I know a lot of people laugh at the fact that the villain in the movie is Doctor Who, thinking it's connected to the famous BBC TV series.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I don't think it's spelled the same way, but that's, you know, neither here nor there.
Yeah. He was quite a character, even in real life.
He looks like he could be like that character, you know. I mean, I know the hair and everything was sort of makeup, but I'm watching the movie and I'm thinking, this guy's got to be the life of the party. This guy's got to be one of the most eccentric people of that time. At that time,
very, very eccentric. And you know, in the movie, he wore a cape, and sometimes in between scenes when we were like in the same soundstage or whatever, we'd be talking. He'd go to leave, and he'd twirl his cape around when he left. Exactly. And I just loved him. He was so sweet. And after we finished, he was in Fantasia on the Tokyo stage, and he invited my mom and I, and we went and saw him. We went backstage, and he was the oddest looking person in the world. You know, he had those ugly teeth, and in Fantasia, he's wearing tights, and he had these little teeny scrawny kind of bow legs, you know.
Yeah.
But I just adored him. He was so nice. He really was.
An actor.
Yes, he was.
He seemed like he loved acting.
Oh, and he worked all the time at Toho. I mean, he was like in everything because he was a character actor, so he could, you know, it was like a chameleon. He could do any kind of villain or whatever, odd guy, whatever you wanted, he could do it.
Talk to me about the green slime, how that came about. That's a fun movie. I liked the green slime.
The best thing about the movie is the music. That's the best thing.
It does have some pretty cool music.
Yeah. Okay, well, I finished shooting King Kong Escapes, and that was in July. So I just kind of lounged in August, and before I did the one TV show in Japan. So I guess it was in August. My girlfriend, I had one American girlfriend, and Jane said to me, "Hey, they're shooting a movie over at Daiei Studios. or Toei Studios, which was right near the base that we were living on. She says, let's go check it out. I said, okay. So we went over and we, we walked onto the soundstage and we're watching them shoot. We get to, oh, there's Richard Jackal and Robert Horton and Luciana
Yep, Robert
Paluzzi.
Horton. Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
great
So
cast.
we were like, woohoo, movie stars, So we're watching them film, and I don't remember if it was the director. I must have been the producer. He walked over and he says, girls, you want to be in my movie? And we said, okay.
Just as simple as that.
Just as simple as that. I mean, my experience in Japan was right place, right time, right look. Like the gods had lined it up,
Yes.
I didn't put a lot of, it wasn't like some people really strive, for success. It just fell into my lap,
It just fell into your lap.
Yep. And we're watching the movie. He says, you want to be in my movie? We said, okay. And then we were in his movie, and it didn't bother me. I'd gone from starring, in King Kong Escapes to being background to Luciana Paluzzi. It didn't bother me. I just wanted to do a movie. I just wanted to work. I love to work, So that's how that came about. And interestingly enough, Richard Jackal was the funniest, the most warm and friendly person that I had ever met. He knew no caste system, it's not like I'm a star and you're not. No, he mingled with everybody, and I adored him. I thought he was great. Robert Horton was standoffish. Luciana Paluzzi was standoffish. And now that I look back, I think, were they just shy? And I had judged them as being conceited. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Maybe they were just shy, or maybe they felt like I felt years later when I didn't tell anybody I did King Kong Escapes. Maybe they were feeling that at that point in their career, they're doing this Japanese monster movie.
Yeah, they're doing the green slime after doing their role.
I mean, after being in a James Bond movie, she's doing the green slime, So
I had to keep working. They had to keep working.
Exactly. And she wasn't rude or anything. She was just aloof,
Yeah.
But so was Hamamie in King Kong Escape. She was very aloof. And it's funny. My first movie is with a Bond girl. My second movie is with a Bond girl, I didn't realize until somebody pointed out, and I went, yeah, that's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. Which one was she in? She was in, it was definitely a Connery one. I think
it's Thunderball. I think she was in Thunderball.
Yeah, it's either Thunderball or You Only Lived Twice. It could be one of the
Hamamie was in You Only Live Twice.
That's right.
I think Paluzzi was Thunderball, but I'm not 100% sure, but I think so, And I had seen both movies before I had done my movie, So when I found out it was Hamamie, it was her that was going to be on the set. I was awestruck. I was so shy. I didn't go up and introduce myself. I just kind of tried to blend into the background because she was like a superstar, and it's like, who am I?
You were starstruck.
I was, yeah.
Did she approach you? Did you ever talk to her? No.
But even Takarada-san, I didn't know he was a megastar in Japan. I didn't know he did Godzilla. I didn't know who Godzilla was. So I was not in awe of him. I just really liked him. He and I would talk in between takes, and but Hamamie, I just watched her from a distance. And Rose has not a love scene with her, but kind of undercurrent of
the undercurrent, whole,
yeah. And he liked her too. He thought she was pretty cute.
She's a very beautiful woman.
Oh yeah. Do you know her story? How she got discovered?
No, I don't. I know a little bit about those movies, but I don't know a lot about her per se.
Okay.
How did she get discovered?
Okay, in Japan, you've got all kinds of public transportation. You've got trains, subways, buses. You don't need a car. Taxis, you don't need a car. So she worked on a bus taking tickets. She was a ticket taker on the bus. And somebody saw her and discovered her and said, "You need to be in the movies," and then took her to Toho. And that's how she got her start. She was in the right place at the right time with the right look, you
Right
know?
place, right time, right look. Just
Yes.
kind of the whatever the fates just kind of going.
Yeah. And my friend Natsuki Yosuke, he knew her well. My nose tickles. He knew her well, and she was in everything. She did comedy, she did drama, she did everything. And he said she was a very nice person. But I didn't meet Natsuki until towards the end of my film. So
So after leaving the industry,
yeah.
in whatever year it was, we're not going to date ourselves here. Time
It's
goes
too
by.
late. It's too late.
It's too late. Time
It's
always
all
wins.
out there.
Time is undefeated.
Yes.
Was there ever an urge to go back
Yes.
or to try again?
To try again, to like say, I want to try again? No. To say, gee, I wish I could. Yes. Yes. Even now, I would love, but you have to be realistic as well as hopeful,
Yeah.
So even now I would love to do something, but I don't imagine. I'm somebody who believes words are really powerful, so I don't want to be negative. I would be thrilled if something happened. Let's put it that way.
I understand. Yeah. I'm reading between the lines. I know what you're saying.
Thank you. Thank you. But again, I'm realistic. There's a film, it's a Christian film called The New Norm. And the director knows somebody that I know, and they said, "Oh, you ought to have Linda in your film." And I was so excited. It was just a really teeny bit part, but to be in front of the camera again, I was excited and nervous. And it's so funny. Before filming, I thought, why are you doing this? This doesn't even feel good, because I was so nervous until I started doing it. I went, yeah, I like this. And then they cut my scene out. So I have when the camera is panning the audience, that's the only time I'm in the film. And the director called me, and she was telling me all about this and that. But I have to tell you something. And I said to her, "You cut me out of the film, didn't you?"
You cut
And
my scene.
she said, "Yes." And I'm so sorry. I said, "No, it's okay." I mean, her goal, which rightfully should be the movie, not me, unfortunately. So.
But you would
yeah,
definitely take a call. You would definitely take a telephone call or someone approaching you and be like,
"Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah." I mean, I've had 3 different times people have approached me. The first time I turned it down for certain reasons. The other 2 times I've said, "Yeah, I'm interested." But it's an independent film. They don't have their money together. So it's like if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But I'm open, I'm open, but I'm not going to die if I don't ever act again.
It doesn't have to be a major studio or an independent, or what if it was someone with a fan film being something like that? You would definitely have the conversation.
Yes, I would have the conversation. I'm not going to do anything that I'd be embarrassed to do, or any kind of film that I would be appalled at. I mean, I have to tell you, one time I was in Cleveland at a convention, and my table was right next to another table, and the guy did slasher films, and he had, I'm telling you, it's bizarre.
Well, I like slasher films too, to a certain extent, but some of them are just sort of.
In slasher films, it's always some good-looking woman who's getting hacked up. So, and he's showing his movie sitting next to me, and you hear you hear the woman screaming in terror, and I just went, oh my God. So I would not even consider that kind of a movie, but yeah, I'm open and I'm realistic.
You brought up conventions. Talk to me about that. Talk to me about the resurgence, in a way, of the conventions, because you are, I would say, a fixture at most science fiction conventions here in the United States and possibly abroad. Have you gone to one overseas?
Yeah, in 2016. Okay, let me give you kind of the history. In 2015, I get a phone call at work, and the guy said, "Hi, my name is Brett, and I live in Tokyo, Japan." And I said, "Oh my God." I said, "Do you know him?"
No, but that's what I would have
Oh,
said. Hi, Brett. How are you?
no, I didn't. I said, "Oh my God, I used to live in Japan too." And he said, "I know, and that's why I'm calling you." He says, "I've been looking for you." And my first thought is, what did I do that you're looking for me? I was like, why are you? I don't know you. Why are you looking for me? And so he explained that there was a fan base for King Kong Escapes, and I almost fell off my chair. I had no idea. I thought, okay, I did this film back in '67, and that's it. End of story. But he said there's a fan base for this film, and I said to him, how did you get a hold of me? And he said, well, there are a million Linda Millers in the United States, and it's been a real chore. He said, but I met a friend of yours in Japan who knew your middle name, and that friend was Natsuki Yosuke, who was my first love, my first true love. And I met him when I was working at Toho. And so Natsuki knew my middle name, and he told Brett, and that's how Brett found me. So then Brett did an article for G-Fan magazine about me, and
Yeah.
he made me, I promised him I would not do anything else, no other promotion kind of stuff until the magazine.
Public speaking, like a resurgence. You
Nothing.
wouldn't step
I
into
would,
the light.
yeah, I was in the dark, and I would stay there until his magazine came out. So once his magazine came out, oh, it's so funny. I got an email from a manager and wanting me to do conventions. And I thought, yeah, I'm sure you want me to do conventions. I was very leery, and I didn't respond because I didn't understand at the time that conventions were a legitimate thing. So then I get a package on my desk in January of, it was 14 when I, 14 or 15 anyway. I get a package on my desk, and I don't open it because I think it's something that I really didn't want to deal with just yet for work. Finally, I open it, and in the picture, in the package is a signed autograph from Takarada-san. It says, please come do conventions with me. And I went, whoa. And then the manager, said, here's my name and number. We'd really like to have you come, blah, 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 blah. So I called him, and then that's how I started doing conventions. And then we went to Japan in January of '16. And I got to actually work with Takarada-san and Nakajima-san in Japan in 2016. So that was a real, real thrill for me because I hadn't been back to Japan since the '70s.
When that happened, though, did you fully embrace King Kong Escapes as like it's part of you? It's inherent, like it's you. It's part of you.
It was a process,
Yeah.
because before I went to my first convention, I told this manager, I said, you do understand, I don't look like I used to look, because I thought people are going to come there remembering the 19-year-old girl. And here I am, at the time I was in my 60s. I think I was in my 60s. And he said, don't worry. He said, all the fans that grew up with you don't look like they used to either. So it's okay.
That's the truth.
And I went, oh, yeah, okay. So I said, I just don't want to embarrass myself. He said, no, don't worry, don't worry. So I went to my first convention in Chicago, no, not Chicago, in New Jersey at Chiller Convention. And I said before I left to my mother, oh my God, what am I going to do if nobody wants my autograph? I was afraid that I'd come back with my, tail between my legs,
I bet you had one hell of a long line.
I was like, I said, they're going to pay me to sign my picture? He said, yeah, they're going to pay you. And so I came home with this wad of cash, and I showed my mom. I said, look what I earned this weekend. My mom lives with me. That's why I mention her all the time. But it just shocked me to death. So, I mean, some conventions are lucrative. Some are okay.
Yeah.
But it's not about the money. I like going and meeting the fans because they embrace me with love, and I, do the same back.
It's got to be rewarding when you see the little kid coming up to you for King Kong Escapes. You know what I mean? Like literally like generations later, the next generation, however you want to word it, embracing this film.
Well, see, you have the grandfather, the father, and the son. sometimes, which just thrills me to death, um, because the grandfathers were like little, 7, 8, 9-year-old boys when I did my film, and a lot of them would say, "You were my first crush," and it was, and why does that make me feel old? When I look at them, I go, "Oh boy."
And
But
here's my family, and they've grown up with this picture too.
yeah, and that's just so heartwarming. I've got one fan. He's not just my fan. They must have a lot of money, because every convention I've been to in the last 2 years, they have been at.
Roadies.
Chicago, San
Roadies. In a
Francisco,
way, it's a fleet of roadies.
Indianapolis. Yeah,
Yeah.
and they always, and his name is Marshall, if he ever sees this. And they come to all the conventions, and they don't get tired of it. And every time they come, I sign a different picture for them, So yeah, I like it. It's I have my regular life, my responsibilities. I work, I take care of my mom. I have my everyday commitments I have to do. And so to get away for a weekend, all expenses paid, make a little bit of money, see a lot of fans,
A weekend
all
in New
that-
Hampshire or whatever. It's fun, right?
wherever. Cleveland was the least profitable. That's the guy with the slasher movies next to me. But
Yeah.
even that I enjoyed, and it's not, I mean, I like the money. I'm not gonna, lie.
Let's be real.
But-
You like the money.
I like the money, honey.
Yeah.
But I do it because I like doing it,
Yeah.
And I like, I meet other people there. I met, oh, God bless America. I can't remember, Deborah Foreman, who did Valley Girl.
Yep.
Okay. She and I did a convention right across from each other, and I was so excited to meet her, So I get to see fans as well. Oh, and my first convention, I just have a horrible time with names. Anyway, he's really cute, and he's tall, and he's blonde, and he was in the anyway, I met this guy, and I was so excited. Jennifer O'Neill I met, and I was thrilled. I went to convention in Richmond, and all of Karate Kid people were there. Ralph Macchio was there.
Ralph Macchio and William Zabka, yeah.
All of them were there, and then Alice Cooper was there, and a bunch of celebrities. And so it's kind of like I kind of geek out myself when I see some of them,
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is cool. It is cool.
You brought up the Karate Kid and all the other things. Here's something that I'm just out of curiosity. What are sort of the things that you are into now, like just watching? What's on your streaming? What's in your Blu-ray case? What would you go to see for a movie in the theater?
Okay, I went and saw Oppenheimer. I went and saw The Sound of Freedom. Barbie's not of any interest to me at all. But on Netflix, I had gotten into Korean drama.
Yeah.
I'm cool with subtitles, doesn't bother
Same.
me. Korean dramas. And the first one I saw was Mr. Sunshine, and it was 26 episodes, and it was historical and a love story, and it was awesome. Oops, my battery's getting low. I'm going to move, if you don't mind, and
Not at
plug in
all.
my phone.
Not at all.
You can see my messy basement.
That's
Okay.
okay. If my camera turned around, you'd see a nightmare of a bat cave.
Okay. All right. So anyway, so I love crime, true crime. I don't like it if it's real graphic, but I like detective stuff to try to figure out, sometimes I say, gee, I would like to be a CSI girl, but then I don't think I could deal with the blood and the gore and what they really
Possibly in the lab, you could be one of the lab people.
Probably. Yeah. I like to think, I like things that make me think. Yeah, that kind of romantic comedy is nice. I loved La La Land, and because it was just it just took you in so many different directions, and I like that. Yeah. So I'm not a big romantic comedy person. I like a good one, but I like more and science fiction's okay. But I like crime shows and detective shows. I love mafia programs. I just watched Donnie Brasco again last night.
Great
And
film.
Johnny Depp is an incredible actor, not to even mention Al Pacino. But I like those kind of films, you know.
Yeah.
And his
You
story. I
can-
love documentaries. I watch a lot of documentaries. When I go to Netflix, the first thing I look for is to see if there's any new documentaries. And if I go to Discovery Plus, I look to see their documentaries. You know, I like history, I guess. You know?
Nothing beats Discovery Plus. Let's be honest. That's probably the best
Yeah.
streaming thing. My favorite thing on Discovery Plus was the food that built America.
Oh, see, I'm not a foodie. Well, I like to eat, but I can't cook.
Well,
I
the thing is,
choose not to cook.
it shows the historical side of like the formation of McDonald's or Wendy's, and
Oh,
you know,
okay. That
yeah,
I would like.
it's really cool with these, with the actors that come in and sort of do the reenactment and the dramatization of certain events. It's fun with narration, and it's cool. It's a fun show. I would definitely recommend it.
Did you see Painkillers on Netflix?
I did not. I did not.
It's very good. It's like a docudrama kind of. It's about the origin and history and the tragedy of the OxyContin.
Yeah.
You know, it's tragic, and it's accurate. I assume it's accurate, but it's very informative as well.
Michael Keaton just did a very good one. I think it's on Hulu or Netflix. I think it's called Dope Sick.
I'll have to watch that.
Yeah, I love Michael Keaton. I would say he's probably my favorite actor.
I think he's from Pennsylvania too. I was born in Pennsylvania, even though I only lived there for like 4 years.
What part of Pennsylvania?
Northwestern, near Erie, in that general area.
Great state. I've been in Pennsylvania a few times, and it's always been a joy to stop while I'm driving through and just sort of be like, it's a pretty big state, and just kind of keep going.
Have you been to Texas? Talk about big states to drive
Well,
across.
I've never been to Texas. I've never been west of the Mississippi.
Oh, you got to go. It's
I gotta go.
Totally different. Totally. Once you get past the Rocky Mountains, like when I lived in California for all those years, very, very dry. And then you hit the Rockies and you go east, and all of a sudden you have humidity, you have rain. But in Texas, it's hot as can be.
You can say hot. It's hotter than hell out down there. I can imagine. No, I'll say it for you.
I just censored myself. But,
you censored yourself. I apologize. I spoke for you.
You don't have to apologize. But I have friends that live in Austin, and I remember him saying, I was going to go down in July and visit him, and he said, it's not that hot this year. I got down there, and I said, you are out of your mind.
What was it, like 100?
Yeah. And he said, well, normally it's hot and humid. It's not so hot and so humid this year. But then we went to the Alamo, and then we went to the River Walk in San Antonio. I was so miserable because I don't like the heat. I don't like it cold, but I don't like that kind of heat. And he said, you ought to move down here. I said, never in a million years will I move down here.
My fiance, my bride to be, she has family in Arizona.
Oh God,
it's hotter than hell down there, and we're gonna get down there possibly next year. COVID sort of played a factor into the travel aspect of things like that, but that'll be my exposure to that western humidity.
Well, in Arizona, it's really dry. So it's a dry heat, just like it is in Vegas. It's a dry heat. I don't know what it's like in the wintertime, because Vegas in the wintertime can be cold and rainy, but in Arizona, in fact, I had friends that moved from California to Tucson, and within a year they had moved back, and they said, we just can't deal with the heat. It is too hot, So
see, I think I'll be stuck in New Englander most of my life.
Well, the change of seasons is what's really, really nice. You don't have further west you go, when you get out to California, you don't have a change of seasons. I mean, it's either a little less hot, but your leaves aren't turning, and of course they don't have a bunch of trees. You know what I'm saying?
No, they don't.
If you go northern California, it's beautiful. But Southern California, where I lived most of my life, it's, you know, it's really dry and hot.
Were you
Yeah.
were you in LA? Were you in LA, that area?
I lived in LA. I lived in Pasadena for many, many years. I lived in Brentwood the last couple of years. Mostly Pasadena and Glendale area. I loved Pasadena. It has, downtown LA, nothing special.
Is it hell on earth? You could say it.
Okay, I left in 94. So before I left, it was not hell on earth. I've gone
Yeah.
back probably 3 times a year. I go back because I've got friends, and I just, I'm a Californian in my heart.
Yeah.
But I see it, and in Pasadena, it's not so bad. But driving on the Pasadena freeway to go into downtown, on the side of that's the oldest freeway, I think, in the States or in California. It's an old freeway. And on the sides, there's homeless, just beyond the gate, not gates, but the barriers. There's
Yeah.
homeless there. And I remember going to Marie Callender's and out in Pasadena, and there was a homeless guy sitting on the curb who'd probably been there for weeks,
Yeah.
So I hadn't experienced firsthand how horrible it is. But each time I go, I see it gets a little bit worse and a little bit worse and a little bit worse.
It's just changing for the worse. Yeah.
Yeah, and California is a beautiful state. The weather is unbelievable. The scenery, even in Southern California where it's drier, it's still beautiful, and it kind of breaks my heart to see what's happened to it.
Yeah.
Because I would go back. I would go back if I could, but I don't think so.
I always wanted to go when I was a kid, just to see either the Walk of Fame or, Universal at the time when they did the tours and all that. But
yeah,
I just don't think California and I are gonna meet.
Did you see the movie Jesus Revolution?
I have seen it. Yeah.
Okay, I was there during that time. That's my California. It was just totally different. I can remember being on Sunset Boulevard at night and having the Jesus freaks come up and try and get me to go to church, It was like, and I watched that movie and I was just transported back to that period in my life, and I and the music and yeah. California was magical at one point in time, and with all the politics and the way they govern, and it's just ridiculous now.
Times change.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, unfortunately.
For better or for worse.
Yes. Sometimes for both at once, depending on your perspective. I'm sorry, my hands are shaking and I'm going up and down, up and down. Anyway.
No, everything looks fine. Before we part ways, we won't keep you. We won't be up all night. Tomorrow is the funnest day of the week, Monday.
Yeah.
What do you got coming up now? That's my
day off.
Oh, lucky you. Monday's your day off.
But I have to work on Saturdays, so.
It's a yin and yang, give and take, sort of. Yeah, it's the best and worst of both worlds.
Yes.
What have you got coming up now as we enter quarter 4 of 2023? Have you got any conventions lined up? Anything?
Yes. Yeah, I've got 2 definite. The second week in October, I'll be in Pittsburgh at Monster Bash. And then the 4th week, I'll be in Atlanta at Monster Rama, I think is the name of it. And I'll put it on my Facebook page. I have a King Kong. It's Linda Miller King Kong Escapes fan page. And I post things there, But I have 2. And then in February, I'll be going to Pensacola. And that's it for right now. That's booked.
Oh, I'd love to get you. We'd love to get you back up in New England. I missed you last year.
I would love, I've always wanted to go to New England when the leaves were turning, and so like make a trip up there and as a tourist, But I'd love to come back.
Nothing beats it. Fall, autumn in New England is just one of the best things.
I bet. Yeah. So I had a great time in Boxborough, and but I thought I was going to Boston, and I was not.
No,
Oh,
Boxborough is definitely not Boston near
yeah,
Boston. It's
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
still a
So,
fun place.
oh, it's very fun. People are
Yeah,
great. I really enjoyed the people. Every convention, I've not had one bad experience.
that was
The
one thing I
only
was going to ask you. Have you had a bad experience at a convention? Because most people at least have one horror story.
No, I don't have any. Knock on wood. I haven't had any bad. The only thing that this is not bad, it's just kind of creepy, is I have one fan that he walks by my table. He looks at me the whole time and he doesn't smile. He just looks at me and walks by. And he'll do that several times. And that's the worst experience. And I've talked to him and he's not harmful at all. He's harmless.
He
But
just that's his thing.
that's his way. Yeah. Because there's all different kinds of people that come to the conventions, all different
Oh yeah,
personalities, and you know what I'm saying.
yeah,
So yeah. So I haven't had any bad experiences at all. And
nice.
I'm not
And
going
you're,
to.
no, you're not going to, and you're
No.
not one of those to, you know, you've probably seen it at conventions where like the headliner charges like $125 for an autograph and picture, which I think is a little
Hmm.
astronomical. You seem like someone who's pretty friendly with the fans because you love them
Yeah.
just as much as the fans love you.
Yeah. I probably shouldn't advertise this, but there's been times I've had a fan that wanted to get multiple pictures and I knew they couldn't afford it. I'll just give them one for free, and
Yeah.
sign it and give it to them for free. I guess the worst experience I've had is, and I won't name names. I've been at conventions where there's a big headliner and they
Yeah.
won't show. They won't show up,
Ugh.
or they will show up and they're completely unfriendly, and fans will come back and say, "Man, she's a bitch," or whatever. Excuse my French.
No, please,
I
trust me.
speak
I've
French.
we've seen them all. We've seen you. You
Yeah.
know, I've been to several conventions. I'll tell
Uh-huh.
you if I could tell you a funny convention story. I've gone to several in Connecticut, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Rhode Island. There was one where I'll name names. It's not a bad story.
Okay.
I was leaving with my friend, so I had a couple of things with me, and a woman and I almost bumped into each other. And I said, "Oh, excuse me, ma'am." And I kind of went around and I looked back, and the woman smiled at me, and I kept going. We made eye contact again. I smiled again, and we kept going. My friend came up and he was like, "You know who that was, right?" I said, "Yep, I know exactly who that was. It was Julie Newmar, Catwoman."
Oh, yes.
He goes, "Why didn't you talk to her?" I'm like, I'm like, dude, she was probably on her way to the bathroom or on the way to get something to eat. I'm like, I'm not gonna,
Yeah. Yeah.
go up to her when she's walking in the sea of people and be like,
Yeah.
that's not my place.
Well, that was very kind of you, but I don't know her at all. I don't know anything about her, but she probably would have been very nice to you.
Probably, but I
Yeah.
just, I never try to mess with people if they're walking.
Hmm.
If they're if they're at their table, they're fair game. If you know what I mean.
Yeah. I do have one fan that will stay there forever and ever and ever. And he just likes to talk and has all these questions. And after a while, it's like, it tires you out. Because when you go to these conventions, you're not doing hard labor or anything, but it's very
No.
tiring because you're definitely got to be nice, and you want to be nice to people and smiley and considerate and all that. It takes a lot out of you sometimes if you do it like 2 or 3 days in a row.
Yep.
And yeah, so when I come back, my friends will say, "Well, how was your vacation?" I said, "I worked harder there than I do at my work."
You
I
gotta
need
be
to
on your
come
A
home
game.
and get some rest.
You have to be on your A game at a convention.
I'm sorry?
You have to be on your A game at a convention
Yeah.
because somebody
Yeah.
asks you the question, 30 seconds later, the next person comes up, and a minute later, once in a while, you're lucky if you get that bottle of water to just kind of,
Mhm.
Okay.
Well, and someone will ask a question and the next person will ask the same question.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
you can't be flippant, or you can't be inconsiderate, because just because he asked it doesn't mean this person heard it. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me tonight. I really, truly do.
Well,
I hope you
thank
enjoy
you.
your Monday. I hope you enjoy your Monday off, because I got
I
a
will.
12-hour.
I will. Yeah.
I got a 12-hour day in front of me, but that's okay.
Oh.
Where can fans reach you for all your new posts and things like that?
On Facebook, it's Linda Miller, King Kong Escapes. Please, what do you call like it or whatever, or follow.
Like, follow. Yep.
Yes, yeah, and I'll post all my anything that I'm doing, and then when I go to conventions, I try to post pictures so that sometimes fans can see themselves on my Facebook.
That's cool.
And yeah, and oh, I have to tell you, when I was in Boxborough, I sat next to Lindsay Wagner, this, the Bionic Woman.
Bionic Woman.
And I loved her when I was a big fan of hers, and she signed an autograph for me, and I have it on my wall. It's like I was so thrilled to get it, So I know how other fans feel, because we're all the same, basically.
You've seen the best of both worlds, the fans and on the other side of the table.
Yeah, you're right. That's so true.
Well, I hope you and I cross paths with any one of these conventions, because
Me
I got
too.
a nice. I've got a nice spot for Lieutenant
Okay.
Susan.
Okay.
I've got a great spot for it.
Well, listen, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but congratulations. Have an awesome wedding and honeymoon. And
Thank
I
you very
wish
much.
you and your wife to be a great and happy marriage.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that a lot, and I know she does too. If she can hear somewhere in the in the apartment. I'd love to talk to you again if you ever want to come on, just to shoot the breeze, something.
Okay.
I'm in.
I'll tell you what, if the film happens, if I sign on the dotted line and I'm going to do another film of any kind, I'll let you know.
Sounds like a plan.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And don't forget to check out next week's episode of Bad for Your Health Entertainment.
Thank you. Hi there. Hi.
Linda, Chelsea, Linda.
Hi, Chelsea.
Don't forget, she waved to you, sweetheart.
Bye.
Don't forget to check out next week's episode of Bad for Your Health Entertainment, where Marilyn Knapp and I will sit down and review the I believe it's the 57 classic, The Brain That Would Not Die.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
You're welcome to join if you'd like.
Okay.
I'll send you a message during the course of the week.
Yeah, please do. Please do.
Absolutely. For Miss Linda Miller, I am Tom Smith. Have a good night, everyone. We'll see you next week.
Bye.